Hey everybody, it's George Miller with the Model Mechanic. We're presenting a how to stop wing flexing on the FT3D. It's the anti-bird flap edition. Here's the FT3D, and we've been through a lot of we've been through a lot of stuff with it. It's late at night and I'm tired, so if I babble or misspeak, you're just going to have to forgive me. But this thing's been through a lot. And just looking at it, I don't know if you can tell, but the wings are just kind of sagging, sitting there. We started noticing some abnormal behavior during high G maneuvers, weird things, and started looking at it a little closer, and we realized that, oh my goodness, these wings are literally flapping and moving, and you can see in this video, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure, I promise, folks. Look at that movement there, and that's probably a combination of foam compressing over time and the wooden spar being rigid as it can be, and it just over time it develops that. And we put a lot of glue in there when we built the thing, kind of followed the procedure, and on the flight test videos, and it did really well for a good many flights there in the beginning. But anyway, this is the maintenance channel, the Model Mechanic. We're here to do maintenance and extend the life of this thing, and that's what we're trying to do. So we came up with the idea of putting a carbon fiber arrow in the airplane. I didn't want to throw it away, and maybe you got an older FT3D sitting around and you don't want to throw yours away either, or maybe you just didn't know how to overcome this issue with the wing flap. Well, I went to Walmart and got these arrows. I bought a couple of them. They're $3 or $4 a piece, and Wolverine Hunter 55-70. They're about 31 inches long, and they're very light, so go get you one. Maybe get a second one to put in your hobby chest. And initially I trimmed the arrows off. All you got to do is take your X-Acto knife and just kind of like you're whittling on a piece of wood. You can just whittle those feathers right off. So I took the feathers off the end, and I also took out the knock, the little plastic tip there. I want you to note how sharp the point is on that. We're going to use that later. I took it off and I ended up putting it back on later. I'll explain that. But then I got to focusing on the metal inside the other end of the arrow, and I wanted to get that out of there because, hey, I like to keep things balanced. And even though that's pretty light aluminum, I wanted it to be, just didn't want it there. I wanted it to be balanced. So I used my blade saw and I etched it around the whole diameter there. Oh, that's probably an inch in. You could probably go an inch and a quarter. But I just cut a groove in it all the way around, and I didn't even go all the way through. And then I grabbed it with my pliers and just snapped it right off. That's carbon dust there on the table there, so just a word to the wise, don't breathe that stuff. Put your face mask on. Here's just a picture of the before, and then I took another picture of the knock, which I glued back into the tip of the arrow because I needed something to be able to cut through the foam board, and that knock really does the trick, folks, so just remember that. So then I went on the wingtip, and I just built a second FT3D a little while ago, and I was familiar with the spar placement and spacing between the spar and the leading edge, and I knew there was enough room for the arrow because actually my second build I'm putting an arrow in it to begin with. So I cut a hole in the wingtip through the paper that you put on there, and I took the arrow, and I wish I had videotaped the whole thing, the whole process, but I'm just going to visually, audibly describe the visual to you. I took the arrow and I shoved it down in there. I placed my hand inside the fuselage when the tip or the knock, that yellow piece, got to the fuselage. I put my hand in there and just held the side of the fuselage with some reinforcement as I twisted the arrow while shoving it in there, and the little knock thing just cuts right through the foam board, and it just comes right on through. And then it goes through the other side, and here's a picture. You can see where it came through one side, and there it is going through the other side into the opposite wing. And I just took that arrow and kept turning it, kept spinning it around as I gently applied pressure to work it all the way through. and it went all the way till I got to the very end of the arrow being flush with the wingtip, and then I knew I had to center the arrow in the airplane. I didn't want any more weight on one side than the other, so I measured it and I figured out I needed about a 2-inch space on each wingtip to have the arrow centered in the fuselage and also centered in the wings. And these next pictures, I used some backlighting just to show you. You can see the shadow of the arrow in that wingtip, and it's about 1.5 to 2 inches there from the wingtip. You can see the light coming through, and you can see the carbon fiber arrow there. And I also took a picture of the other side where you can see the carbon fiber arrow on the other side, and there you see the shadow of it. So it's pretty centered in the whole airplane, and this is a great balanced solution. It's strong. We went and flew it, and man, it flies like it's on rails again. I was very impressed with the performance, and it just brought new life to that. And so being a good model mechanic means maintaining your airplanes, and this was a great way of revamping this airplane. And instead of just maybe hanging it from the ceiling or throwing it away, I wanted to make good use of it. And you can see in this picture, there's no wing sag. Those wings are straight as an arrow, pun intended. Well, folks, it's getting late. I appreciate you watching the video. I hope this video was helpful to you. Here at the Model Mechanic, that's what I'm all about, is helping others with ideas and stuff. In this picture, you can see I've got a different kind of landing gear, and I'm going to make another video about that. So I guess that's stay tuned. It's coming. And thank you for watching. Please leave your comments down below, and do this carbon. If you haven't built your FT3D yet, do a carbon fiber arrow right out of the gate. I encourage you to do that. Hey, give us some comments below, like us if you like us, and subscribe to us if you like that as well. We appreciate all the opportunity to help you. All right, we're over and out, and good night. Keep smiling.